we've made it. We're here. The second round of the Gauntlet featuring the Fantastic Four. What does the second round mean, you may be asking yourself? Once all characters are played, combinations are created, then supported or expanded upon. I also then have to create at least 4 new teams of possible combos and strategies. This is at least, so I can create more if I wanted to. From there, I'll choose at least 2 to 4 characters that have potential to possibly replace poor synergy or combos. So it'll be kind of like the sideline for each team. And finally, I have to play each team at least twice. So now if you recall from the last episode of the Gauntlet, I did kind of hint that I wanted to spice things up to kind of challenge the teams. This is something that I usually reserve because, I have to play each team twice. So what I do is I match up each team and play against them once and then kind of make replacements and then have them face teams that are not of their theme. So for example, X-Men, X-Factor, Justice League, Masters of Evil, whatever, as long as it's not Fantastic Four. However, this time I'm going to do it backwards. I'm going to see if maybe shaking things up in my team building will give me some ideas as well, so we can get some more of those casual clicks tactics videos to you to help you out with your strategy. And like I said, it helps me too as well. So first, let's start with the Fantastic Four theme because this is their Gauntlet. We got Ghost Rider, no surprise there. Danny Ketch, it's okay. It's okay. Well, it's a Ghost Rider. We'll count him. Though actually, this is the one from the Fast Forces. So I'm kind of pressing my luck here because the Fast Forces one, unlike Robbie, does not have Impervious. He only has Invincible. However, what I'm really banking to do with this Ghost Rider in this team is just to add with his stealth busting, because he has that awesome stealth busting power that's called No Hiding from Judgment. The other ones are, if you remember this combo from this team here, Spider-Man and Invisible Woman. These Invisible Woman is the rare from the set and Spider-Man is the common from the set. You'll recall that I tried to have them, side by side, so that way Invisible Woman can grant him stealth, an extra +1 range because of her shield team ability, so Parker can have 6 range with 2 targets with Incapacitate. And now I'm going to spice things up a little bit even more and added Mr. Fantastic to grant everyone within 4 squares leadership. So of course Mr. Fantastic is going to be kind of like the glue, keeping everyone within 4 squares with each other. And kind of keeping him safe too, because he has that to strand the Griever trait. Opposing characters within 4 squares in line of fire can't begin moving except during move actions. So he's going to kind of keep him safe, even though, they have stealth in case they happen to encounter a team that doesn't have stealth, or they're more melee oriented. Mr. Fantastic here is kind of a backup plan to slow him down. It's not going to stop him, but it will slow him down enough for Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, and Invisible Woman to hopefully either bog him down, deal enough damage to get through their defenses. We'll see. Again, this is just the second round. This is still not a finalized team of this Fantastic Four. Oh, by the way, they're all at their 75 point value still. Let's go to the team that they're facing. This is a team that if you've been following me on Twitter, I've been kind of tinkering with. This is draft, I think, number 5 or 6. I forget. And I'm still positive there's still a combination out there that I can make work for this team. And you'll see more of this team later and maybe the Mega Gauntlet. But for now, this is the X-Men team. Spoiler alert. The X-Men team that is going to go up against the Fantastic Four. We've got Professor X with Krakoan Revival. We've got Storm with Krakoan Revival. Here, these two are the head honchos. Storm, of course, can revive everyone. Even Frenzy, because Frenzy is 80 points. So without Storm, I would not be able to revive Frenzy. But because of Storm, I am able to revive Frenzy. Now, here's the trick. Frenzy here has Mutant Messiah trait. At the beginning of the game, for all characters with this trait, choose a friendly character with the Acolytes or Brotherhood of Mutants or X-Men keyword that character can use Mastermind, but only to choose characters with this trait. So she's going to be our Mastermind damage sponge, just in case we need to hit the emergency button, because we got to keep Professor X safe. He's the linchpin. He's the one that has 3 targets, ignores hindering terrain, elevated terrain, characters, can make ranged attacks against, even though he's adjacent to opposing characters. He has stealth. With that mind control, 8 range, I'm hoping to kind of just pick the armies apart, just pick the opponents apart with his triple target mind control. If I can hit all 3 targets, what I would like to do is push 2 back, grab 1 forward, bring that 1 forward out of stealth, out of hindering terrain, so that way Storm can possibly blast him. Or Bishop. I also have Bishop, which limits. This is the Bishop Prime that will limit the opponent's range, which will limit the Fantastic Four's range to 5 once he spawns that. Shard Bystander. And last but not least, or maybe least but not last, Jubilee at 20 points. This is a team, like I said, that I'm preparing for the Mega Gauntlet. In the Mega Gauntlet, looking at the other teams that I can build, I'm positive I've got plenty to make Colossals. I know the Sentinels for sure are going to be in the Mega Gauntlet. Spoiler alert. But this is a team I really want to make it into the Gauntlet, and I'm still testing them out. This is the X-Men team. If you'd like to see more of the content and stuff that I go through behind the scenes, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. It's @CasualClixin. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you're notified when the next episode of the Gauntlet goes live. Well, here we go. Enough talking. Let's get the first official match of the Gauntlet round 2 started with Fantastic Four against the X-Men. And here we go. We've got the X-Men. They got the initiative. They rolled a 5 for their deployment roll. Make sure you check out the Solo Rules version 2.0 because that's actually what I'm using. You can find that in the description below. For now, let's focus on the X-Men. I know I covered this team a little bit beforehand. But let's talk a little bit of strategy with this team. So we want to keep Professor X as safe as we can. That's why we're using Frenzy to use her Mutant Messiah trait to protect Professor X. I know we can revive him with Storm with her Krakoan revival trait, but I would rather use that to revive Bishop or Jubilee. And if needed, Frenzy, of course. Not that I wouldn't hesitate pulling the trigger on reviving Professor X, but I would prefer him to stay alive. Hopefully Frenzy does her job because she's the only one on the team that doesn't have any range. And she has that Mastermind trait. And she gives Professor X that Mastermind trait that I want her to take the damage instead of anyone else on the team. Maybe Jubilee. Jubilee could be another character that I use to transfer. Another character that I use to transfer the attack to. Another character that I use to change the target of the attack to with Mastermind. She's 20 points. It's not a big loss if our opponent KOs her, and I don't think she's worth reviving most of the time. It's not worth giving up that bystander token for the Krakoan revival trait. So we have to play kind of smart with this team too. Pick and choose our battles. Starting with our deployment role, which we got Frontline Firepower. Now we get 4 actions because Storm has leadership. It's a 300-point game, but Storm has leadership, giving us 4 actions total. Storm is planning to carry Professor X. Bishop is planning to use phasing teleport so he can generate that shard bystander. Jubilee's looking to find some cover because she has stealth. And Frenzy is going to follow Professor X wherever she can and position herself to where maybe she could do some damage if needed to, or at least protect Professor X. So let's see what we got. We got to move from high to low if we want to get this done. The highest point character we have here is Storm. So let's reposition ourselves here. This is an aerial view of the map. This is the X-Men team right there. We've got the Nova Corps headquarters. This is all indoor. We've got some hindering terrain, some walls, some elevated terrain, some sparse hindering terrain and blocking terrain with more hindering terrain, and the starting area for the Fantastic Four. So let's move Storm here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. She could go up to 8 squares. She's getting a -1 because she's carrying Professor X, but Professor X has stealth. We're going to take advantage of that. Place Professor X on the object. And if you'll remember, we rolled frontline firepower. Which means we have to move, if we want to use our actions, if we want to maximize our actions, we have to go from highest to lowest, which I already moved Storm, the highest point character. Now let's move Frenzy. She's at 80 points, which is 5 points less than Storm. So this is going to be our second action, and I want to keep her close to Professor X. So let's move her 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now let's think about what we're going to do. We can either place her on the back row with Storm or on the front row with Professor X. She doesn't have stealth. She doesn't have energy shield, but she does have a starting 19 defense. So while it's not the greatest answer, it is an answer somewhat, in that she could stand to be a little bit potentially in danger like she is right now, for the sake of being closer, because she has 0 range, she has Battle Fury. So, you know, there's no way to give her range. We can't carry her into battle. So she's going to do one of two things. Either sit back and protect Professor X with all she's got, or kind of do a little bit of both, which is protect Professor X until the enemy gets close enough to where she can pounce and use her special power. The one that says time to cleanse the flash. The one that says time to cleanse the flat scans. This special power on her speed says leap climb. When Frenzy uses it, if she moved 5 squares or less after resolutions, she can use Close Combat Expert at no cost. And she has Battle Fury and Close Combat Expert as a special power. Moving 5 squares with Leap Climb is actually a pretty good distance from where she's at. They're almost at the middle of the map. The other half of the map is pretty barren. It has some hindering terrain and some blocking terrain, but that's it. No walls or anything like that. Nothing that I don't think the X-Men team can handle, but we'll see. So what we're going to do with Frenzy is, for now, since we're still trying to get used to checking the playstyle for the Fantastic Four, which I think they're going to be a range-heavy team, which won't really matter, because Bishop back here, once he makes his Shard Bystander, it's going to reduce the range down to 5. Okay, now with Bishop, we want to make sure that he uses phasing teleport right away so he can generate that that shard bystander to limit the opponent's range, the opposing character's range, to 5 squares within themselves. So let's do that. He's got a speed of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I could place him on the edge as well. Actually, park him on top of that heavy object so he can get that extra +1 to his defense. And remember that he's got energy shield. He's got a special power, actually, energy absorption, which gives him energy shield and toughness. So having +3 to defense is not a bad thing. Even if he were to get outwitted, he still get +1 for that object. Bring his defense to 18, which is good, not great. I think it's worth doing that because then, since he doesn't have willpower. Now here I'm going to be a little bit bold with Bishop because Shard is going to limit the range of the opposing characters anyway. So let's generate that Shard bystander here. He used phasing teleport. Shard gets generated. And remember, it has to be in an adjacent square. She's right behind Bishop. And now let's move the last character here for frontline firepower, which is the smallest character in Jubilee. 25 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or 6. She's got willpower and stealth and range combat expert. She would have been good if I could have, maybe moved her all the way up here. But this is as far as she can go. I'll put her behind Storm in case Storm needs to carry her to maybe create like a stealth shield. Just trying to work together here as a team to keep their teammates alive, really, right? That's what we're trying to do here. The X-Men working together, gelling like Magellan, as I like to say, and no one else in their right mind would dare say that. Here we go. On to the Fantastic Four. The star attraction for this gauntlet, I mean, I would say it's the X-Men, but what do I know? This gauntlet, though, is specifically for the Fantastic Four. However, I will never pass up a good opportunity to playtest some other teams I've been working on. It gives me a chance to see not only how much that team has improved by, if they start to dominate the opposing team, because the Fantastic Four here just got formed earlier today, actually. I formed them earlier today. Remember one of the Gauntlet episodes, Spider-Man and Invisible Woman, kind of gave me an idea to pair them together. We were pairing them together with Mr. Fantastic and Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider because he himself can ignore hindering terrain when he uses his penetrating psychic blast, similar to Invisible Woman, who can grant it to anyone who's adjacent to her. So it kind of makes for a stealth busting team, which should be interesting because the X-Men, Professor X, relies on stealth to stay hidden. Jubilee does too. Professor X is the linchpin on the X-Men team, so if they can get to him, may not look so good for the X-Men. But they gotta get within 5 squares because of that Shard bystander. So let's get moving here. Let's see what we can do with the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four versus X-Men here on Casual Clixin. Round 2 of the Gauntlet. Let's see what this team's got. Okay, so after looking at these characters, they'll have stealth if I keep them close to Invisible Woman, but that stealth won't matter because Professor X's mind control can see through stealth, and on top of that, I have to be within 5 squares to even consider making an attack against them, as per the Shard bystander. Opposing characters can only attack characters within 5 squares of themselves. So this is going to be a tough one. This is a good entry match for this Fantastic Four team. They got to show me what they got against a team that I've been, like I said, been kind of working on, slowly improving, trying different ideas and whatnot. So let's get moving here. Let's try to stick close anyway to Invisible Woman, because Professor X is the only one who can actually see through hindering terrain. So if we can try to manage him, we may stand a chance. And it's also beneficial if they stay together, thanks to Mr. Fantastic's trait. The one that says Return of the Fantastic Four, which grants friendly characters with Fantastic Four keyword within 4 squares leadership. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to use some of the blocking terrain to our advantage here. There's blocking terrain right there. What I'm trying to think about is, should Spider-Man carry Ghost Rider, or should Ghost Rider carry Spider-Man? Because neither of them are going to move. That means that, that we got to stay close to Invisible Woman, so we can get that stealth if there's any way possible. I mean, I guess we don't need to, but that leadership could also help out if they stay together. But Ghost Rider has penetrating Psychic Blast, and he can see through hindering terrain without having to be adjacent to Invisible Woman. Whereas Spider-Man would have to be adjacent to Invisible Woman. So I think we've made up our mind here. I think, it has to be Ghost Rider that gets carried. But let's roll for the deployment roll first before we forget. 6 and a 4. So they get unrestricted operations. They can take their turn normally. Here we go. Spider-Man is going to carry Ghost Rider for the reason that Ghost Rider can see through stealth without having to be adjacent to Invisible Woman. So that means that he could hopefully make an attack against Professor X, assuming he gets within 5 squares, which we should be able to. So let's see. Let's get moving here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's hide Ghost Rider over here. We want to keep Ghost Rider safe because right now he's probably the best shot we have at trying to take a shot at Professor X, who's in stealth. As mentioned, that we do get that trait that Invisible Woman has. Yeah, my power set is really good for espionage, where she has stealth and improved targeting for hindering terrain. And adjacent friendly characters that share a keyword with her can also use the stealth and improve targeting hindering terrain. But they have to stay adjacent to her, which may put them in an awkward position, may put them too exposed somewhere. So let's move forward with Invisible Woman now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Carrying Mr. Fantastic, who's going to position himself here. He wants to have some visibility, some line of fire, because in case they get within 4 squares of him, he can activate that trait to strand the Griever. Opposing characters within 4 squares and line of fire can't begin moving except during move actions. So it won't trigger if they're outside of that 4 square radius. But if they get within that 4 squares, he'll at least have line of fire to them to try to affect them the following turn. Sorry about that. There we go. I forget. I'm not recording just my voice sometimes. So, Mr. Fantastic, where's that token for Invisible Woman? There it is. Let's get it on her. So that concludes the first 2 rounds of the first turn of the second round for Casual Clixins, the Gauntlet, featuring the Fantastic Four. Here we go. This is the X-Men deployment roll. 3 and a 1. That means that they have conservative tactics. So the only characters that can take actions are those without action tokens. Let's roll leadership for Storm. Let's see if we can maybe pull a token off of Frenzy or Jubilee. That's a no. She tried. She tried. It's okay, Storm. We still love you. Everyone has their bad days, I guess. Professor X, what are we going to do with you? You old rascal, you. He's kind of useless right now. Not going to lie. Them parking themselves behind blocking terrain is not optimal for Professor X, but hey, this is what this testing is all about. I'm still testing this Krakoan Revival team. This is like the 7th or 8th rendition of this team. And I'm still finding faults within it. So I think I may just need to give it up and focus on another X-Men team. But for now, let's try to make this work. What can we do? We have conservative tactics. So the only ones who can take actions this turn are Professor X and Shard. Because everyone else has action tokens. I can still take free actions. But Jubilee, for example, she has 1 token. I can't use her anyway. Even though she has willpower and I could normally use her. Because I'm being restricted by conservative tactics. Remember to check out the solo Heroclix Rules 2.0 video that I uploaded recently. In case you're wondering what the Heroclix solo plays rules and wondering why I'm playing with such crazy restrictions. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but I think the Fantastic Four blanked the X-Men this turn because I don't want to get Shard into the thick of things. I can see where she can make a running shot, park herself right there, and she has line of fire, and she's within range to Invisible Woman, right there. However, I don't want to lose her so early in the game. She's very crucial to the strategy, so we're gonna try to keep, stay with the strategy. Since we got conservative tactics, the only restriction is that I can only move characters or use characters, non-free actions with characters that don't have action tokens on them. So the order doesn't matter. I could use Professor X first or Shard first. In this case, I'm just gonna move Shard back here for now to keep her safe. Because this team, normally I think I would play aggressively, but because this team is slowly shaping itself into being a more competitive team, I want to start getting into the mentality of being more competitive with them. And you may notice that I'm also more comfortable playing with this team because, like I said, this isn't, I already went through the Gauntlet with the X-Men, and this is one of the teams that came out of the Gauntlet as one of the best. So, their turns might be a little quicker. Their team might be more efficient, might be slightly better. But that's part of the Gauntlet process. That's how I'm going to make the Fantastic Four team better as well. So, Professor X, at least he's got Indomitable. He's got that much. We don't want to get him too close, and we definitely don't want to pull him away from Frenzy. We want to keep him adjacent in case they somehow are able to tag Professor X. He can just redirect the attack to make an attack Frenzy instead of him. And let her take the damage, which is fine. Because she's got invulnerability and toughness and super strength. So she can go back out and dish some damage if she needs to. And close combat expert. I could just keep going. So my option with Professor X is to either do nothing or pull back as well. If I pull back, he has to get out of the hindering terrain or out of that object, which means he loses that hindering terrain and he's more exposed because he can't activate stealth unless, the line of fire crosses through that particular object. Or, if I pull him back, that means that the Fantastic Four can slowly advance as well, because what's keeping me at a distance is Professor X's range. That 8 range is brutal. But I don't want to leave him there too exposed. You know what? I'm going to leave him there. Normally, I mean, I think normally I have been leaving him there, but this is the first time I've included Frenzy in this team. And since they have Mastermind, you know, because of Frenzy's trait, I'm going to rely on that. I'm going to rely on her Mastermind traits keeping Professor X alive. We'll see what happens to the rest of the team. For now, let's do the deployment roll for the Fantastic Four. There it is. Double fours. That's a rally, people. Rally the friendly fours. A stroke of luck for the Fantastic Four. Okay. Now, as they got 4, they also have Frontline Finesse. However, other characters are 75 points, so they can still move in any order they'd like. Okay, I think I'm going to regret not pulling Professor X back, but whatever. We're going to make an attack with Ghost Rider first. He's got 8 speed. He can make a running shot of 4. He's got Penetrating Psychic Blast, Improved Targeting, Ignores Hindering Terrain. Here we go. We're going to use that object for cover. So we're going to park Ghost Rider on that object. He gets +1 to his defense. It won't matter with Professor X if he tries to mind control him, but it will matter with Bishop and Storm. So let's try to keep him safe. Ghost Rider has Running Shot, Penetrating Psychic Blast, Ignores Hindering Terrain. I know Penetrating Psychic Blast will not work on Super Senses, which is what Professor X has. However, he's not going to use that because he's going to use Mastermind to make Frenzy the target of the attack. Thanks to Frenzy granting Mastermind to Professor X has, when this character would be hit by an opponent's attack that deals damage, you may choose an adjacent friendly character that wouldn't be hit by this attack and that is less points or shares a keyword. That friendly character instead becomes a hit target of the attack, even if it's already a target or would be an illegal target. Anyways, with his 11 attack to his 17 defense. And now remember, Ghost Rider's No Hiding from Judgment not only gives him Penetrating Psychic Blast, Improved Targeting, Hindering Terrain, it also grants him, when making a ranged attack, if Ghost Rider's line of fire crosses Hindering Terrain, modify attack and damage +1, which it is. Because that heavy object is considered Hindering Terrain when drawing lines of fire. So here we go. That's a 6. With an attack of 12, that's an 18. But because of Mastermind making Frenzy the target of the attack, and Frenzy's defense is 19, that's a miss because he rolled an 18 total. That's rough. And that's kind of what I was banking on with Frenzy. So let's show off some of that synergy that we got on this team here with Spider-Man and Invisible Woman. He's going to use Running Shot. He's got a 5 range. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me zoom out so you can see Spider-Man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So normally he would be 1 short. However, because Invisible Woman has the Shield Team ability, that grants Spider-Man an extra +1 range. And now he's able to hit Professor X because of Invisible Woman's trait as well. So let's make that attack roll. He's got 11 attack. Professor X is using Mastermind to make Frenzy the target of the attack. That's a 3. It's a miss. Should they use a theme team probability control? If I use it, I have to give the token to Invisible Woman, and that means that Invisible Woman will not be able to make her Incapacitate attack, which is fine because, I mean, right now she only has line of fire to Bishop. And she only does 2 damage. Oh, you know what? She has probability control herself. So yeah, let's use probability control. Let's make Parker reroll, and that's a 4. That's slightly better, literally slightly better. Went from a 3 to a 4, and we can't use a theme team prob when she already used a probability control herself. So there goes that opportunity. Okay, so right now I think the Fantastic Four now have to be a little aggressive. They didn't connect any of the attacks with Professor X that I needed to hit to have some breathing room. And now I think I'm going to use Invisible Woman to use Mr. Fantastic or Spider-Man, carry them into battle, and have them tie up Storm, Professor X, and Jubilee. Let's take Mr. Fantastic. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let me show you how I plan to tie them up. Right there. Deal with that, Professor. Storm and Jubilee. We've got a superhero showdown here on Casual Clixin. Okay, so Invisible Woman took an action to carry Reed there because Reed has combat reflexes, which is, of course, great against ranged characters like Jubilee and Storm, and normally, of course, as well against Professor X, but Professor X doesn't care. With that Mind Control special power, while you slept, the world changed. Mind Control stealth. When Professor X uses Mind Control, he has improved targeting, ignores elevated terrain, hindering terrain characters, and this character can make range attacks while adjacent to opposing characters. May target adjacent or non-adjacent opposing characters. So, like, he doesn't even care that Reed has combat reflex because he'll just make a range attack on him anyway. And what? So, okay, Mr. Fantastic's gonna outwit something. He can't see... Oh, he can see Professor X. Well, hello. Hello, Storm. See, I knew I saw something in Invisible Woman. She grants anyone this trait as long as they're adjacent to her, which is stealth and improved targeting, hindering terrain. So let's outwit Professor X's outwit. Now you're wondering, why wouldn't he outwit Mind Control? Well, I'm not going to outwit Mind Control because if I don't outwit the outwit, he's... Oh, well, hello. Hello, beautiful. Mr. Fantastic has outwit with a range of 10, protected outwit. Wow. I knew I saw something in this Mr. Fantastic. I'm 2 for 2 with his Fantastic Four team. Okay, we're going somewhere now. Let's outwit that Mind Control power that Professor X has. Let's do that. That's 3 actions. Now they can take 4 because of Mr. Fantastic's leadership, but, you know, because they carried Mr. Fantastic, following Heroclix rules, they cannot take an action if they've been carried. Deployment roll for the House of X-Men, Krakoan Revival, 5 and a 2. Five is frontline firepower. Storm has leadership. That means they get 4 actions. If I were to take 4 actions, We have to make them good actions. Because we definitely don't want Professor X adjacent to anyone. I mean, he can still make range attacks even though he's adjacent to someone, but optimally, you don't want him adjacent to anyone. Rolling frontline firepower means that I have to move Storm first. If I want to, proceed in that order. Storm has leadership, energy explosion, improved targeting, ignores characters. Nothing really that can help us right now. Jubilee. Incapacitate, range combat expert. Again, nothing that can help us. The only thing that would have been able to help us was Professor X's mind control power. But that's been outwitted. And I can't outwit Reed's. Oh, well, you know what? I could outwit his combat reflexes and just try to deal with him that way. If I outwit the combat reflex, he's got an 18 defense. Storm here can hit for 3 damage. And you know what? Frenzy can hit for a lot of damage too. I think it's time to jump with the X-Men. I think right now we got to show them what they're made of. So Professor X will use Outwit on Mr. Fantastic's combat reflexes. Storm is going to try to get the first attack in here. Being at 85 points, she goes first for frontline firepower. That's a 7. That's a hit. If I don't use a Theme Team probability control, he'll land on his 4th click, and he'll have Steel Energy with Close Combat Expert. And still with Plasticity, which is great. But he will lose that Outwit, which is not great. So I think we have to prob here. Let's bring him down to 2. Let's use a Theme Team probability control token. And this can be the drawback with playing teams that are 4 characters as a theme team. That's not necessarily always the case, because sometimes you can find better characters than the ones I'm playing in a 300-point team and try to run a 4-man team. But strength in numbers. Strength in numbers, I think. Here's the reroll. It's still a hit. He's going to take 3. Spider-Man and Ghost Rider not hitting that attack on Professor X is coming back to haunt them. Because now Professor X has his mind control back. And we're about to get rid of Mr. Fantastic more than likely. Okay, so Mr. Fantastic has this trait, to stand the Griever. Opposing characters within 4 squares and line of fire cannot begin moving except during move actions. That's fine, because Frenzy has a leap climb. When Frenzy uses it, if she moved 5 squares or less, after resolutions, she can use Close Combat Expert at no cost. And leap climb is a move action. So that doesn't bother her at all. Let's move her here and keep her adjacent to Professor X. Remember, we want to use her as the mastermind damage sponge. There she is, getting in on the action. She's going to use Close Combat Expert. Let's just get rid of Mr. Fantastic. We don't want him using that Steel Energy to heal back up. We take him out now. No one on his team will benefit from the Fantastic Four team ability. Frenzy's got a 10 attack with 3 damage with Close Combat Expert that she can use as a free action. So let's do 1 and 1. 11 attack with 4 damage. Here we go. 11 plus 6 is 17. That's what she needed. Well, guess what? Invisible Woman has probability control, so she needs to roll another 6 or higher. That's a 3. That's a miss. Let's use a Theme Team prob on Professor X. Here we go. 3rd time's a charm. That's a miss. That's a miss, people. Invisible Woman coming in clutch with that probability control. Look at her go. And now we got 2 more actions left. We've got Professor X, because he only has a Theme Team Prob token on him, so he still hasn't taken an action. We've also got Bishop. Bishop is right over here. He has a line of fire to both Ghost Rider and Spider-Man, who are on the first level, while they are on the second level on elevated terrain. If I want to take, Bishop's action, that means I have to use Professor X first. Which I think I will. Here's what I'm going to do. Professor X is going to use a triple target mind control because he can. I want to show you the power of Professor X. 11 attack. Mind control. Targeting Mr. Fantastic. Ghost Rider and Spider-Man. I mean, I could still roll, make a Theme Team Prob here. But Spider-Man will take a pushing damage. Ghost Rider will take a pushing damage. And if Professor X still manages to hit the reroll, now they have 2 tokens. And they're being mind controlled to go walk away further back while I deal with these 2. It's just a really bad spot to be in. So I'm not going to use a prob token, Theme Team Prob token. I'm going to let that action resolve. Professor X hits, and Spider-Man still gets to roll for his super senses, which he misses. Ghost Rider doesn't have any sort of defense against range attacks. Not against mind control anyway. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. For my first action, I'm going to make Ghost Rider move. 1, 2. He can only move 2 squares because his movement gets halved. Or does it say move 4 squares? Minimum value 4, close range attack. No, a hit character halves speed. So it would have, which would become 4, and then he's moving out of hindering terrain, which is 2 squares. That's fine. Didn't need to move him that much. So now he becomes opposing again, and Spider-Man is friendly to me. So now what I'm gonna do with Spider-Man is I'm gonna punch Ghost Rider because I can. He's got 9 attack. But you know what? Spider-Man has improved movement. Ignores characters. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I can actually move 5. Let's move all the way back here. And let's make the attack roll. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's a miss. That's a terrible roll, but that's fine, I guess. We can push Spider-Man further back. Let's turn our attention over here to the last one, which is Reed Richards. He's got plasticity. He's got a roll to breakaway to do his move, and he does. He needed anything but a 1. He got a 6. Let's move. Let's put him right there. How about that? He's not adjacent to anyone, so that means he can't use Close Combat Expert. He still has a range of 3, so he can still hit people, but not with that Close Combat Expert and not with that Steel Energy that he has. And from here, Bishop can deal with him. This is why I love Professor X. He can just ruin a strategy with one good hit. So that was my third action. Let's take our fourth action with Bishop. He's going to outwit his toughness. Mr. Fantastic's toughness, by the way. He's got 11 attack to a 17 defense. Let's do this. There we go. He got an 11. He got an 11. And he's already used Team Prob once this turn. So he can't use it again. He takes 3. 1, 2, 3. And he's still alive. Wow. Mr. Fantastic. Very impressive, sir. Very impressive. Those are the 4 actions for the X-Men. Shard clears. Let's roll initiative. Let's roll deployment roll for the other team. 6 and a 3. That's unrestricted operations. The Fantastic Four are in a tough spot. None of them have Indomitable or willpower. They rely on the leadership that Mr. Fantastic offers, but they have to be within 4 squares. And as you can see, Mr. Fantastic, he is within 4 squares of Invisible Woman. That's Mr. Fantastic. That's Invisible Woman. However, they're not adjacent to each other, and neither are these two. And then these two aren't even within 4 squares of him, so they wouldn't even be able to use that leadership power anyway. It's not looking good for the Fantastic Four. And like I said, I mean, the X-Men team are a little bit more refined. This was one of the teams that made it through the Gauntlet for the X-Men. We're still fleshing the Fantastic Four out here. So now let's say I don't do anything this turn. Let's say, I'm going to play conservatively with the Fantastic Four. And just rely on the defensive powers to keep them alive. Professor X has Indomitable. Storm has leadership. That means that, she could potentially take a token off of either one. I mean, Frenzy or Professor X. I guess it doesn't matter because Frenzy has Indomitable too. Storm has Indomitable. They still have Shard back here. And Shard can actually do some damage too for a bystander. These bystanders are getting so good, by the way. So I have to be aggressive. And here's why. Because Mr. Fantastic is close to being KO'd. He'll trigger that Fantastic Four team ability. And even if I push Invisible Woman, Ghost Rider, and Spider-Man, they'll heal up for 1 anyway. So let's do that. Now, the thing with Fantastic Four team ability is that it says when this character is KO'd after resolutions, each other friendly character using this team ability heals 1 click. So it doesn't need to be off of an attack. So we could actually push Mr. Fantastic right now to death. Unless he hits because he has Steel Energy. But regardless, if he misses, that's still good for us because, the rest of the team will heal. So let's use him last as we're going to push the other 3 anyway. Let's move Ghost Rider back in here. He's got a chance at hitting here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're getting him even closer now. He's not on this object anymore. Now he's on a piece of hindering terrain. And Professor X and Frenzy are on the 2nd level. However, Ghost Rider is going to make another attempt on Professor X. Which, of course, Professor X will just use Mastermind to push it to Frenzy. Ghost Rider has an 11 attack with Penetrating Psychic Blast. This is where it gets tricky, because he is drawing Line of Fire. Let me see. Making a range attack if Ghost Rider's Line of Fire crosses hindering terrain, modify attack and damage +1. Mastermind. That friendly character instead becomes a hit target of the attack. So while it says she becomes a hit target of the attack, he's not drawing Line of Fire to her. He is still drawing Line of Fire to Professor X. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to go with he still gets the +1 attack and damage. Here we go. That's a 6. It's still a miss. Do you believe that? Invisible Woman has Line of Fire though. She does this time. So she'll use her own probability control. Let's hit that. He needs an 8 because Frenzy has a 19 defense with invulnerability. And he gets it now. That's an 8. Oh, I'm sorry. He needed a 7. But that's a hit. If Frenzy doesn't do a team prop on that, she's going to take 3 damage. And on top of that, no, she's going to take 4 damage because of the no hiding from judgment. So remember, this is what we set the system up for. The Krakoan revival system, where if Frenzy gets knocked out, she can still be brought back by Storm. Adjacent to her, and she could, just start mauling Invisible Woman or Mr. Fantastic. They're both almost gone anyway, so let's look. Mr. Fantastic, 75 points. If we can capitalize on Ghost Rider and Invisible Woman, they're also 75 points each. If we lose Frenzy, she's only 80 points, and they'll get the 10 extra points for the Bystander. So that means that, we have to bank on knocking out 2 of their characters if we're playing competitively here, which I think we can. So I'm going to let Frenzy take that damage, despite me having 2 Theme Team probs. I'll save it in case she gets hit yet again, or Professor X or someone else. So she'll take the 4 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4. And he takes 1 pushing damage. There we go. Spider-Man way over here. He can move for 5 and make an attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's as far as he can reach, which is just 1 shy. So let's just leave him there, because it's not worth moving him just to take a pushing damage then, I guess. So let's just leave him there. I don't know. I'm just going to take the token off him now, since he's way out there. I don't want to forget later. Mr. Fantastic. Moving him last. Invisible Woman. She can deal 1 damage to Frenzy, and it's not worth it, right? And she can't use Incapacitate because Frenzy has Battle Fury. And if you remember, Battle Fury gives you Protected, Incapacitate, Mind Control, and when this character attacks, opposing characters can use Shape Change, on top of not being able to do range actions. So with Invisible Woman, I didn't use the Form the New Fantastic Four, because I already have 2 other teams that are taking advantage of that trait. I thought honestly that this was probably one of the stronger teams I built. But seeing as how the X-Men are just dismantling it, clearly I was very wrong about that. Maybe there's something to what I said earlier about being strength in numbers, and maybe, the Fantastic Four is an outdated concept and they need to update to Fantastic Five or the Spectacular Six. Invisible Woman has Running Shot. We're going to use that simply because it's just not worth making a 1 attack damage for 1 pushing damage on Frenzy. However, it is worth risking Breakaway Running Shot triple incapacitating someone. Let me see. So she has Fly, so she'll be able to maybe even come in here and take Shard out. But honestly, Shard right now is low priority because Ghost Rider's already within 5 squares. Spider-Man's range is 5 squares. So it's not like he'd be able to reach because, of Shard. So that leaves me with less options. Yeah, let's do that because, even if she fails and Mr. Fantastic makes an attack and KOs himself, she'll heal back up anyway. In fact, you know what? Maybe we should do that with Spider-Man. Nah, he's too far. That's fine. Let's just roll for Breakaway, and she fails. She fails. She rolled a 2. Well, she's got Perplex. Mr. Fantastic. He's gonna make a range attack against Jubilee. Why not? Let's knock someone out. Try to anyway. He's got a 9 attack. She's got a 17 defense. I need an 8. Invisible Woman will use her Reflex to bring Jubilee's defense down by 1, making it a 16. So now, hey, that's enough. She's only going to take 2. Oh, well, she's got 2 clicks. I think now's a good time to use that Theme Team prob. Why not? Here we go. Let's put that token on Jubilee. They're down to one team prob. That's a hit. She's out. So is Mr. Fantastic, which heals Invisible Woman and Ghost Rider. And now we have the option to bring Jubilee back with Krakoan Revival. But you know, we had her on the team specifically so because of her trait, the Hunted and On the Run, the one that gives her shape change. The X-Men characters anyway. X-Men keyword characters can use shape change when attacked by giants or colossals. There are none in this match. So I don't think it's worth bringing the 25-point Jubilee back and giving him a strong 10-point bystander. So I'm happy with that trade. They can take their 75-point character and shove it. I'm just joking. Yeah, I'm talking to myself, of course. But that's it. That was their... Well, I mean, just 3 actions. They could have taken 4, but because they lost a character with leadership, and Mr. Fantastic had it as a trait... they can only take 3 actions, which they've already taken. So let's roll for the X-Men's deployment roll. Here we go. 3 and a 2. So conservative actions. Conservative tactics, I mean. Excuse me. So Professor X cannot take an action. Neither can Storm. Well, you know what? Storm's got leadership. So let's roll for her leadership. That's a miss. That's okay, Storm. We still love you. The only one who can take actions now is Shard, actually. That's terrible. It's a good thing that Shard's a decent bystander, I guess. But we do need her to do something. We can't have her attack Ghost Rider because of that Mystics. But we can have her attack Invisible Woman, I suppose. The question is, do we want to expose her? The answer is yes, because Invisible Woman has 2 tokens. Even with her PC, you know, all that happens is that she'll reroll. Now, Shard has 4 speed, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is enough to attack Invisible Woman. Here we go. That's a hit. Invisible Woman has probability control yet again because she healed herself. Thanks to Mr. Fantastic sacrificing himself. Here we go. She rolled a 6. That's a miss. The rest of the characters can do nothing, so they have to clear. You know, just to address this is something that would never happen in competitive play. You know, that Storm has Indomitable, Professor X has Indomitable, Frenzy has Indomitable. Like, of course, I would make an attack or something to try to take the Fantastic Four out this turn. But, the thing about the solo rules is that sometimes they add that extra pressure. Like, you know, I feel like the X-Men have it in the bag already. However, you want to test your team under the most stressful situations. And like right now, the X-Men, even though they have it in the bag, they didn't get the best turn. So now the Fantastic Four, I think, might have a turn to kind of counter or answer something in response to them. And that would really test and push your team to the limit to see what they got, you know. Because you may find yourselves in those situations in an actual tournament or competition. Or, you know, just playing against friends and you want to beat them. So let's get this show on the road. Deployment roll for the Fantastic Four. 6 and a 5. Unrestricted operations. Spider-Man is the only one that can take an action because the other 2 have 2 action tokens. He's got a 9 speed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've already established that he can't running shot and hit someone because he's slightly too far off. He can't even reach Ghost Rider there with a running shot. So I think we're going to have to use Spider-Man as our new tie-up piece. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And even then, he's too far. Let's park him here. No pun intended. Parker. He's on top of a heavy object. Because he can't quite reach Invisible Woman. Can reach Ghost Rider, but then he's out in the open and he loses that hindering terrain bonus on a range attack. Not looking good for the Fantastic Four. Let's go on to the X-Men's turn. Here's a deployment roll. 4 and a 2. That is Frontline Finesse. Moving from low to high. Is Bishop, Professor X, Frenzy, and Storm now that Jubilee is knocked out. So let's start with Bishop. Bishop's got running shot. He's got outwit. He can't see Ghost Rider from there, but he can't even see Spider-Man either. There's Bishop. There's Spider-Man and Ghost Rider. Doesn't have... Well, actually... Oh, no, he doesn't. Yeah, that line of fire crosses that hindering terrain that's right next to him. I'm sorry, the elevated terrain that's right next to him. So, Professor X, however, he can see both of them. He's got outwit. Let's outwit Ghost Rider's invulnerability. Bishop, you're going to take one for the team here, buddy. You're going to have to hit him. 1, 2, here we go. Running shot. That's double 3, so that's plus 11 is a 17, which fails because he's 17 plus 1 is an 18. That's terrible. That's just terrible. Oh, you know what? Let me roll for leadership too. Storm has leadership. She got it. Of course, because we love her. That's terrible. She needs a 7. And I think I need to hit. So I'm going to give a token to Storm. There's the token. That's a theme team prop. That's our last theme team prop, by the way, for the X-Men. Here we go. That's still a miss. That's terrible. That's terrible. But like I said, I like this because now, you know, the X-Men are, it looks like they're slowly being pushed against the wall when it looks like they've had an advantage. But we'll see. We'll see. It's still early in the game. Now it's Professor X's turn. Okay. Professor X has triple target mind control. He's going to target the 3 remaining members of the Fantastic Four. Here we go. He rolled a 7, and he's got an 11 attack. Total of 18. She's got energy shield. Doesn't affect her. Definitely hits Ghost Rider and Spider-Man here. Despite being hindering terrain, Professor X doesn't care, so he has to roll for super senses. And that's a miss. He rolled a 3. So yet again, caught in Professor X's clutches. Ghost Rider will move 1, 2. Make an attack on Spider-Man. 11 attack. That's a miss. That's fine. And now Spider-Man. 1, 2, 3. Well, his speed is halved, 4, 5. So he can move up to 5 because he does have improved movement. Spider-Man, yet again, being thrown way out there. But he's still within reach to try to attack Ghost Rider here. 11 attack, 17 defense. Remember that I outwitted his vulnerability. That's a critical miss. Poor Spider-Man. Well, you know, I can actually technically theme team prob that with Ghost Rider. They have 2 theme team probs left. No, let's let Parker take that damage because we gotta try to catch up against the X-Men here because they're just not giving us a chance. That was Professor X's turn. That's 2 actions. They've got 2 more because Storm has leadership. Frenzy, next in the ladder, she's gonna use a close attack, 10 attack against Sue Storm's 18 defense. Need an 8. That's a miss. Storm is going to use running shot just for sake of moving Shard behind her, protecting her from Invisible Woman. Invisible Woman has 18 defense with energy shield, so that's a total of 20. She's got to hit a 9. That's a miss. Okay. Fantastic Four have a chance to try to do some damage here. There's a deployment roll, a 3 and a 1. Conservative tactics. The only one who has a token is Spider-Man, so he won't be able to take any non-free actions. But Ghost Rider and Invisible Woman are both free to take actions if they need to. Ghost Rider is going to use running shot. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, let's keep him at a safe distance. So what I'm going to try to do with Ghost Rider is knock Frenzy out. That'll give the Fantastic Four the point advantage. So that means Invisible Woman could retreat. And they could play defensively and let the X-Men try to play aggressively for once. Instead of just kind of sitting back and relaxing on Professor X. So let's try to do that. Let's make that running shot. Penetrating Psychic Blast. He gets +1 for targeting Professor X. Well, you know what? You know what? Professor X will not transfer the damage to Frenzy. But you know what? Yeah, let's just attack Frenzy. Here we go. That's a hit. That's a hit. She takes 3 damage. She's out. Fantastic Four. Trying to make a comeback. Miracles can happen. Do we want to bring her back now? The answer is a resounding yes. There we go. Now, they get to create a bystander from the Krakoan Revival trait. And they generate that next to any of their characters. Let's put this to the test here. Let's generate a skinless assassin right here. So now we got Invisible Woman. Now I'm doing this on purpose. I don't know if I would actually do this or not in a competitive play. Because I know the kind of damage that the skinless assassin can do in close quarters. So the X-Men, they're looking like they're in danger this turn. But we'll see. So Skinless Assassin was most definitely generated, and because we rolled conservative tactics, anyone that doesn't have a token on them can take an action, a non-free action. So that leaves them free to attack. I think we need to take Storm out. We've got Flurry Blades with the Skinless Assassin. Let's try it. 11 attack. Here we go. First flurry. That's a hit. That's a hit. Let's roll for blades. Oh, and a 6. That's brutal. They have no team probs. She has toughness, so she'll take 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 17 combat reflexes. On the next attack, with that 11 attack, he's got to hit an 8. That's a 3. Invisible Woman's going to use Theme Team, or she's going to use her probability control. That's a miss. Either way, that's a miss. Skinless Assassin gets his token. Storm was lucky to survive that attack. Invisible Woman will now try to break away running shot because, I mean, now Frenzy has invulnerability. There's no way Invisible Woman can hurt her with her 2 damage. And Incapacitate does not work on Frenzy either because she still has Battle Fury. She has Battle Fury all throughout. So let's try to do that breakaway running shot. Let's try to back up because we have the point advantage now. The Fantastic Four have knocked out Frenzy, which is 80 points. They generated a Bystander from the Crocone Revival, which is, the first one is 10 points. And Jubilee is 20. So that's 110 points compared to the 75 points that they've lost. So let's try to break away running shot. Leave the Skinless Assassin behind. Who cares about that thing? It's 0 points. And she succeeds. She gets a 4. She's got Incapacitate. So let's take advantage of that. Here we go. She's going to land on that piece of hindering terrain. With triple Incapacitate. She still can't target Frenzy, but she can target Professor X and Bishop, seeing as how they're on the edge of elevated terrain, and she ignores hindering terrain anyway. So let's make that attack. Here we go. 11 attack. Critical miss. Critical miss, and she's used her probability control already. That's terrible. That's terrible. With Perplex, she will perplex her own defense up by 1. And Spider-Man will clear. Trust me, he cleared. He's back here. He cleared. X-Men's deployment roll. 4 and a 3. Frontline finesse. So that means Bishop, Professor X, Frenzy, and Storm in that order. If I want to use them all. Bishop does not have willpower. So I may have to pass on him. And there's also Shard. Shard is 0 points. She's right there. I'm using the Shard character from the House of X set as a stand-in for the Shard Bystander, but she's on her KO click, so I don't get confused. The X-Men seem to be back on top again. Not much came out of that turn. I mean, they KO'd Frenzy, but they're still within striking distance for the X-Men to grab them. Okay, for the first action, let's use Shard. She's 0 points. She has running shot with precision strike. She's gonna running shot targeting the Skinless Assassin. Let's get a closer look. There's Shard. There's the Skinless Assassin. Here we go. Okay, so that's high enough to hit. I'm going to roll for Shape Change with the Skinless Assassin. I forgot to roll that before the attack roll, but we'll let the attack roll stand. Unless, of course, he had hit that Shape Change, which he didn't. And there goes the Skinless Assassin. Still not bad. I mean, for a 0-point bystander to be able to deal damage to Storm, 5 damage to Storm, that's brutal. And I had to waste an action on my turn to get rid of it. Yikes. So now, seeing as how I have 3 actions left, I could actually use Bishop, Frenzy, and Professor X. Oh no, you know what? I lost leadership. I don't have it with Storm anymore, so I only got 2 more actions left. Frenzy for sure was going to take 1 because she doesn't have any tokens. And Professor X actually has Indomitable 2. And seeing as how this is Frontline Finesse, I need to use Professor X if I want to use Frenzy. I gotta use Professor X first, I mean. So yeah, he's gonna use Mind Control. He's got improved targeting. Ignores a bunch of stuff. He'll also... Well, you know what? No, Invisible Woman has stealth. Now, here's the tricky part. Even though his Mind Control ignores practically everything, his Outwit does not. That's a special power. When he uses Mind Control, he ignores everything in the world. Not really, but you know what I mean. But not the Outwit, though. So he can't see Invisible Woman. He can see Ghost Rider, but... What do I care? I don't care about him yet. Maybe once I Mind Control and see what I can do with him, then I'll worry about outwitting something. But for now... let's just try the Mind Control. 2, 3, 4, 5. So Spider-Man is out of reach, unfortunately, but that's fine. That's how I learned to grow with this team. Here we go. Here's the Mind Control attack. That's a hit. He rolled a 9. He has an 11 attack. That's a 20. To hit Invisible Woman, though, she did perplex her defense up. So she's got 19 thanks to that perplex, plus 2 with energy shield, 2021. That's even with that 9, that's still not enough. It's enough to get Ghost Rider though, and that's fine. Hey, you know what, Sue? Here you go. He can move 2, 1, 2. There we go. I'm gonna just hit you with a close attack. It's 11 attack Ghost Rider has. An Invisible Woman has 19 defense. 18 plus 1 because of that perplex she has. That's a miss. Professor having success hitting those mind controls, but not too much luck in getting them to attack each other. The will of the Fantastic Four is great. We must overcome it. And you know what, Frenzy? Get in there, Frenzy. Should we take care of Wonder Woman or Ghost Rider? I'm going to say Ghost Rider. Because we can outwit him. Because Invisible Woman has stealth and we can't see her. Ghost Rider does not. He's exposed. He's exposed. I think we gotta play gutsy here with the X-Men. And not let the Fantastic Four overrun us. Frenzy here is gonna use Leap Climb. When she uses it, if she moved 5 squares or less, which she did, after resolution, she can use Close Combat Expert at no cost. Before the move action, I'm sorry, I forgot to say this, that Bishop outwitted his invulnerability. And now she's going to pump up her damage to 5. She needs a 7. And that's a miss. So much tension and build up just for that epic miss. Great job, Frenzy. Great job. The X-Men are behind on this because let's remember that if this were a competitive game right now, they would be at how many points given up? 80 for Frenzy, 10 for the Bystander, 20 for Jubilee, 110 points to the 75 points of the Fantastic Four. So I'm going to play the Fantastic Four defensively until the X-Men relent. So here we go. 3 and a 2. Conservative tactics. That means Parker over there is the only one who can take an action because these two have tokens. Not the greatest of turns, not the greatest of things that could happen, but I suppose the worst things could happen. Invisible Woman has Perplex, so she can still use her free actions. Unfortunately, Spider-Man is 7 squares away. Of course, why wouldn't he be? Great job, Parker, great job. But like I mentioned, I think at this point, we can start being more defensive than aggressive. This is what I love about round 2 and round 3, that these games are just so tense because the games, the teams themselves start getting more shaped out. So you start to see the strategies within them really shine and pull through as a team. Right now, the Fantastic Four are pulling back as best as they can, keeping the X-Men at bay because they're up on points. They're up on points. Even if I were to use Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, 4, he can't draw a line of fire. I mean, he has running shot, but he can't draw a line of fire to Frenzy. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how far he can move. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then he's got a range of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is not enough to hit even Bishop. He can't see Professor X, but not even far enough to reach Bishop. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can't draw a line of fire to Frenzy because of Ghost Rider. So Spider-Man is just gonna have to move and reposition. 8 squares. Where is he going to move to? This is as far as he can move. So not very far, I guess. You know, now that Storm lost Energy Shield. I'm sorry, Energy Explosion. That means that I can move Parker there and not have to worry too much about being blasted with adjacency damage. And Invisible Woman will continue to perplex her own defense up. It is now the X-Men's turn. Let's roll. 3 and a 1. Conservative tactics. So now, that means Storm Bishop can take actions, but Frenzy cannot because she has a token. Professor X has 2 tokens. He can't do anything. And we don't want to push Shard regardless of whether or not we could take actions because of conservative tactics. So we've got Bishop and Storm. We're out of leadership because Storm got knocked past it because of that skinless assassin. You know what? Storm had sidestep. I should have been sidestepping with her. She has close combat expert. My bad. Bishop is going to use Outwit on Ghost Rider's defense on his invulnerability. Let's just try to hit him for 3. That's a hit. He hits for 3. Guess what though, Bishop? You can just take 1 Mystics damage. That's right, buddy. Storm has sidestep. Professor X is going to use Outwit on Spider-Man, Super Senses, and Storm is going to make a range attack from there. 17. Spider-Man's defense is 18. That's not enough. The X-Men are kind of floundering here. The deployment rules have not been kind to them. Not handling the stress well. Let's see what the Fantastic Four can do. 5 and a 4. Frontline firepower. It doesn't matter because they're all 75 points. They need to keep trying to get away. Ghost Rider. Invisible Woman is going to perplex Frenzy's defense down. From an unreasonable 19 to a somewhat manageable 18. Ghost Rider is going to use Exploit Weakness and attack Frenzy with his 10 attack. That's a hit, people. That's a hit. That's a big hit. 3 damage with Exploit Weakness. 1, 2, 3. Back onto 19 defense, but this time with toughness. However, Ghost Rider here. Wait, what's happening? Oh, I gave the wrong token to Spider-Man. That's what I did. Let me switch that out. What will happen with Ghost Rider is he has a trait, a new kind of fantastic teamwork. When Ghost Rider hits with a close attack until your next turn, other friendly characters with a Fantastic Four keyword can use Exploit Weakness. Now, let's attack with Invisible Woman. Her defense, remember, Frenzy's defense is still perplexed down by 1 because of Invisible Woman's perplex. She can now use Exploit Weakness. She has an 11 attack. Her defense is 18. She only needs a 7. If she hits, she'll hit for 2 damage. That's a miss. And finally, I think I'm going to push Spider-Man. I think we got to capitalize on the points here. Let's take that 1 damage, I guess. Here we go. Exploit Weakness. That's a hit with knockback. Oh, she's got charge, but I don't think it matters. I think that's going to, yeah, that's going to KO her again. I don't want to give them another token. They've already KO'd her twice. That Fantastic Four team is just not giving up. This match is getting intense, and now Spider-Man has Close Combat Expert with Sidestep and Incapacitate. Kind of challenging Storm there, because Storm also has Sidestep, Close Combat Expert, but she has Combat Reflexes and Precision Strike, which will help against the Super Senses from Spider-Man. But do we want to risk the attack being so aggressive against them? Because they've been managing to handle everything that the X-Men can throw at them. Granted, the X-Men have had a few deployment rules gone against them, but this is, again, part of the whole testing process that we want to put our teams against stress. We want to stress them out to see what they're capable of handling, how much they can give, and how much they can take. Because eventually, we will get to be able to deal back. That's the easy part. The easy part is knowing how to use how to use your team to the best of its ability. The hard part is using it under the most terrible situations possible. Like what's going on with the X-Men, you know, they're already behind, what, 160, 70, 80, 90, 190 points to the 75 from Mr. Fantastic? If this were competitive play, no way. So let's go here. The X-Men are next. Double threes. The terrible luck continues. They rally the opposing force. And now that they got 3, that means conservative tactics, that only characters that have no action tokens can act. And that's Professor X and Shard. The Shard bystander still back there, still in the game. Becoming less relevant now. So let's just do the triple mind control with Professor X. Let's do that first. Let's see who we get. That's a critical miss. That's definitely not good for the X-Men. Definitely not good for the X-Men. Professor X takes 1 damage. It's getting to the point where Shard has to get in on this. Let's see. What does Shard have? Running shot with 8 speed, so she can do 1, 2, 3, 4. And she can target Ghost Rider, which if she targets, she's gonna KO herself because she's a bystander. But you know what? Before she does that running shot, Bishop is gonna use Outwit on Ghost Rider's toughness. So that way, if Shard hits, and I think that's a hit. Yeah, Ghost Rider has 17 defense. His toughness was just outwitted. Shard does 3 damage, which is pretty good for a bystander, I guess. And so let's take the 3. 1, 2, and he's out. Let's trigger the Fantastic Four team ability. And heal these 2 up 1. And she takes Mystics damage. So there goes Shard. That's 0 points. So that's not too bad, I guess. That's not a bad trade at this stage in the game. And Storm wasn't able to take an action, but she can take Sidestep, which she will. She's going to use Sidestep. Because she's got Close Combat Expert and Combat Reflexes, so Invisible Woman is not as threatening as she may normally have been. So let's roll for deployment for the Fantastic Four. 6 and a 5. They're still in it. Regardless, I mean, they're at 150 points. They need to be at 149 or less for them to be routed. And this is kind of where the Krakoan revival puts them over the edge, and you kind of have to keep pushing towards that new rule that WizKids added, that you gotta KO, that you can win by getting a certain amount of victory points against your opponent. We got Spider-Man. Who can actually running shot and try to attack Storm, who has combat reflexes. Let's punish the X-Men. Let's do that. We want to keep our distance too because they're still up on points. So what I'm going to do is 1, 2, 3, 4. Right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. And while I could, if this was an actual competitive game, I could actually just retreat, try to break away with Invisible Woman and Spider-Man and just try to run full speed. But I'm trying to still playtest, gather data here by making attacks and whatnot. So we're going to do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. That's an 11. That's a hit. That's a hit. 3 damage. That may knock Storm out. 1, 2. Yes, that knocks Storm out, unfortunately. Not looking good at all for the X-Men. The X-Men now are in danger of being routed. There's 115 points left. 75-point Professor X, 40-point Bishop. Invisible Woman. She can see through hindering terrain. She's got Incapacitate. I'm just going to use Incapacitate because, I mean, right now, all they have to do is just try to wait it out and hope that the X-Men get a bad deployment roll in the solo rules. So here we go. Incapacitate rolls a 9. With her 11 attack, that's 20. It hits Professor X. He's going to roll for super senses and he fails, so he gets an action token. No pushing damage since he has Indomitable. And Bishop here, let's see. He has 17 plus Energy Shield is 19. And she rolled a 9, that's a 20. So that's a hit too. So he gets a token as well. This Fantastic Four team just pulling through. Let's roll for the X-Men's deployment roll. Now they're in danger of being routed. 6 and 3. Unrestricted operations, which I guess doesn't matter because they both have 2 tokens, right? You know, there was one trait. Dang it. And I just realized this is the only trait I think I forgot to even look at. Was Professor X's bartering pharmaceutical breakthroughs for Krakoan's sovereignty. And yeah, that maybe that would have been helpful against Ghost Rider, dealing all that penetrating damage. But as part of the process, again, the X-Men Krakoan revival team is still not shaped out. As you can see, still working the kinks out. So all they can do is clear. I mean, do I want to use Bishop? I mean, push Bishop? He is within range of Spider-Man. Oh, by the way, you know what? Spider-Man had sidestep. I would have moved them back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I would have definitely moved them back out of Bishop's range. So now he can't even see Invisible Woman because Invisible Woman has stealth. And if, you know, he has a token. I just took him off of him right now. But he still has a token. If I were to move him, he takes another pushing damage. And then what? You know, he's just there. So, I have to clear. It is now the Fantastic Four's turn. Frontline Finesse doesn't matter. Because all I'm going to do is clear. And hope that the X-Men fail their deployment roll. Five and a 3, frontline firepower. That means I have to use Professor X first, and then Bishop. Okay, so Bishop here, I'm gonna move him up next to Invisible Woman. I'm tired of her. I gotta get rid of her. Professor X is going to attempt to mind control Spider-Man and Invisible Woman. Why not? Let's just do it. There we go. Oh, I should have done that the other way. I'm sorry. So let me move Bishop back. Let me give this token to Professor X. I forgot. I got frontline firepower. So Professor X goes first. He rolled 11 attack, 9 on his die. So that's 20. Which is enough to hit Invisible Woman. Oh, God. And but she's got probability control. So here we go. Here's a reroll. That's still a hit. He rolled a 9 again. And he's going to mind control both. So let's start with Spider-Man. 1, 2, 3. Since he ignores hindering terrain on movement. He's going to make a close attack against Invisible Woman. That's a 9. She has an 18 defense, so she takes 2. Oh man, you know what? She's a friendly. I can't attack a friendly. That's terrible. Oh my god. I remember that because I activated Parker first, that means that Invisible Woman is still friendly to me. And so is Parker. And I can't attack a friendly. Oh man. That's fine. Parker's closer. Now Invisible Woman's gonna attack him. I need a 7. That's a miss. That's a miss. Although she does have probability control. Which says once per turn you may re-roll a target character's attack roll or breakaway roll. A targeted character must be within range and line of fire. Minimum range value is 6. And with mind control, it does let you make move and or make an attack. And of course, the attack roll is still subject to probability control because you have to use probability control before the action resolves. And I'm sticking with that. So let's make a second attack. That's an 8. It hits. Super senses with Spider-Man. It's a miss. He takes 2. Bishop now. I don't think I want to move down there and attack Invisible Woman. I think I just want to take Spider-Man out now. He needs a 7. His attack is 10. Spider-Man's defense is 17 with combat reflexes. So, that's a miss. That's one hell of a miss. And now the Fantastic Four get to go again. They luckily survived this turn. That's unrestricted operations. Invisible Woman's gonna carry Spider-Man out of here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't ever let anyone tell you that running away is not a valid strategy, because it most definitely is. If this were tournament or competitive play, this is exactly how I would be playing. I have the point advantage. Let them come to me. You be aggressive. I don't have a reason to be aggressive. I'm winning. This is the deployment roll for the X-Men. Let me give her a token before I forget. She carries Spider-Man, by the way, as if that wasn't obvious enough. The Spider-Man, the X-Men team, stay in the game. Rolling frontline firepower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The Fantastic Four are moved out of range. There we go. And Invisible Woman has stealth, so Professor X can't do anything about it. This is the deployment roll for the Fantastic Four. 3 and a 2 is conservative actions. But you know what? It doesn't matter because I'm not going to do anything. I'm still banking on the X-Men failing their deployment roll, which here it comes. 5 and a 4 frontline firepower, and the match continues. Oh man. The X-Men just don't want to give up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Whatever. They're just trying to catch up now. I can't see anyone because Invisible Woman has stealth. Professor X can see through stealth, but it's only with his mind control. So I can't outwit her energy shield or anything like that. Here is the deployment roll for the Fantastic Four. 6 and a 1. Unrestricted operations. Okay, so I'm going to keep him hidden because, like I said, all we're doing is trying to wait out the X-Men from getting a bad deployment roll, which I think they can survive as long as Sue stays up front, protecting Parker. This is the deployment roll for the X-Men. 4 and a 2, they're still in it. This time with frontline finesse, so Bishop has to act first. But do I want to act with Bishop? I do not. I want to save his outwit. Professor X, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He can reach Invisible Woman with his mind control. So let's do that. 11 plus an 8. That's a 19. Her defense total is 20 because of that energy shield. That's not good. Bishop clears. Let's go to the Fantastic Four. 6 and a 5, unrestricted operations. Invisible Woman, yet again, is going to pack her bags. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here we go. We're getting into the nitty-gritty of things. They are seriously just gonna wait it out. Here's the X-Men deployment roll. 4 and a 1. That's frontline finesse. So that means Bishop has one go at it. And guess what? Now she's out of stealth. Maybe I should have put her in stealth. Oh yeah, you know what? I'm sorry. There's equipment and stuff out in the way. So I didn't see this patch of hindering terrain. Now that I've moved some of the stuff out of the way, Invisible Woman is going to park herself there. No pun intended, Parker. And Ghost Rider, oh my god. Bishop over here. Yet again, cannot see Invisible Woman. However, what if he were to go this way? 1, 2, 3. Oh, and he were to have a direct line of fire to Parker, huh? I think I liked it better when they were behind the blocking terrain and Invisible Woman was exposed because she has more clicks. Yeah, let's do that. Let's protect Parker. Bishop is going to use running shot. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now here's the catch. Bishop gets +1 when Bishop attacks one or more characters with the past or future keywords, or that can use probability control, modify attack +2, damage +1, which is what Invisible Woman can use. So that he has 12 attack and 4 damage. Let's just roll. Double threes. Even with that energy shield, he needed an 8. So Bishop gets a token. Professor X is going to move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's about all the X team can do. There's Professor X. Let's roll for the Fantastic Four, who are still in it. 4 and a 2, frontline finesse. Doesn't matter. They're both 75 points. You know, Spider-Man wasn't so vulnerable here. I don't think I can stand still because, well, you know what? I forgot to use Outwit with Bishop. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, you know what? Professor X was over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, let's do that. Professor X and Bishop have line of fire to Invisible Woman. Bishop will outwit her probability control, and Professor X will outwit her incapacitate power. Fantastic Four will clear. I think they can survive. This is the X-Men deployment roll. 5 and a 1, frontline firepower for the X-Men. Professor X has 2 tokens. He'll continue to outwit Invisible Woman's incapacitate. And now Bishop. Well, you know what? Professor X is going to outwit her energy shield, and Bishop is going to outwit her probability control. So here we go. Let's push Bishop. That's a miss. That's a huge miss, Bishop. So there you have it. The exciting conclusion of the first match of the second round for the Gauntlet for the Fantastic Four. It's a great showing. It was a great showing for the Fantastic Four, making their debut as a team, as a literal Fantastic Four, because there were 4 members. Each one did what they were supposed to do. Spider-Man was probably the most underwhelming of the bunch, but I don't blame him. You know, sometimes the dice may not fall in their favor. May have helped if he had hit a couple super senses here and there, but you know, that's the problem with super senses. It's 33% chance that you will get that roll. The X-Men, this is a team that, you know, that made it out of the Gauntlet for the X-Men. The original combo was Bishop and Professor X. And I'm still, as you can see, trying to find X-Men that go well with these two. As you can see, it's still a learning process, and it's part of the Gauntlet. It's actually why we're doing this. We're doing this for the Fantastic Four, but you know that this team also made it out of the Gauntlet for the X-Men. I'm also going to still keep trying to expand on them, make them into a real cohesive team. So make sure that you like and subscribe. That way you're notified when the next Gauntlet goes up. Because the matches from here on out, they're going to be just as intense because these teams are slowly getting crafted. So as always, thank you so much for watching.